information that was being used by some of, especially the first graders and kindergartners. It was really impressive because they were breaking down some English concepts that I thought were third or fourth grade level, but some of these first graders, and they were on it. It was awesome. And then I also had the pleasure of attending our Nevada Association of School Boards annual conference with some of our colleagues here a few weeks ago in Reno, and that was nice to collaborate with some of the other school board members from around the state. Went to some interesting breakout sessions, including one that I get to moderate on student voice on the board. So it's nice to see this young man join us today because that was part of the thing that we talked about. And then last but not least, I got to last Friday go and attend the Night of the Arts at Silverton Middle School, where the band and the choir and the dance teams and the drama club put on great performances. There was some great visual art there. So if you ever get invited to go to one of those, it's worth your time, I think. But that's my report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Christopher. Ms. Rakhtar?
Well, I don't have a whole lot. I was on vacation after our last meeting for quite a while. And I am missing my daughter's band recital tonight. Sad about that because I did go to the arts night with Darren and watch that performance. And it's fun to see them at the beginning stages of learning band. And it's kind of a chore to sit through there, but when they're your kids, I mean, you do it. I also want to take this time to thank the district for all the hard work that they've been doing. The teachers, administrators, and everybody that's associated with this school district. It's one of the best school districts in this state. And I really feel like it's in a good place. I also want to thank Chartwells for all the meals that they provide for these kids and for the meetings for the board. And with my heart, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's on the board. It was great working with you guys, and I look forward to seeing what you guys can do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Peterson?
Yeah, so I too attended the Nevada Association of School Board Conference all weekend. Did a lot of good learning sessions there and collaborating with people, so I was thankful for that. I don't know if I want to admit this because I don't know if I want to advertise this, but I was asked to participate on the podcast with Mr. Eder and Dina DeGoyler, and it was about literacy. So if you have any free time, you may or may not want to check it out. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Flines?
Thank you. So when's this podcast? I just wanted to take a quick minute. I don't have a whole lot to share. I just wanted to, first of all, say Merry Christmas next week. I can't believe it's here already. And just take an opportunity to say, like Neil was saying, just thank you to the staff and for this opportunity to be on the board and how much I've learned and what a great opportunity is and how appreciative I am now, more so than in the beginning, of staff and what you guys do, what you know. And I just thank you for this experience, and I'm just so proud of our district. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flines. So definitely fitting to be having my last meeting here at Sutro. So this is where I think 3 of my kids started out elementary school. We just lived down the road a little bit. So it's always good to come back. I think it was one of the first times that I was able to work with Bridget. We were able to do some school beautification projects here before either one of us ever thought of getting on the school board. So that was fun. And actually, when I worked construction back in the mid-90s, I actually came over here and did some work on this school as well when it was under construction. The streets out in front were just curb and gutter. There was no paving. So definitely a full circle moment coming back and finishing up here. I as well am indeed grateful for the last 4 years and the service that I was able to give to the district. And I think that we've done some great things. It was an amazing time to think just back 4 years ago, we were just coming out of COVID and what that brought to our kids and the change and the craziness that it brought and where we're at now, seeing some of that learning loss being made up through some of the amazing work that our educators do here in Lyon County School District. There's a lot of good stuff happening everywhere throughout the district. I look at some of the stuff that we were able to accomplish on the board, the new gym over in Fernley. I think that that's a great building for that campus, great building for that community. Happy that I was able to, make a vote to make sure that that got done. A lot of the safety projects that we're doing, a lot of the athletic fields that we've been able to make improvements to, a lot of the curriculum that we've brought forward, vehicles, all that good stuff. I think the district's in good shape. I'll be on the sidelines rooting for the new board to come in here and pick up the ball and do amazing things. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity that I had to, be able to come to these meetings and give all that I had to the district for the last 4 years. And with that, I will move on to attitude of gratitude. Mr. Hendricks.
My attitude of gratitude is from Aiden Cook. And he says he's successful at Silver Stage High School because of Miss Connolly. I want to thank her for helping me out during math and teaching in a way I will actually learn and retain information so that I can be successful. Thank you.
Ms. Parsons.
My name is Brian, and I am successful at Riverview Elementary School because of Miss Gatton. And I want to thank her for always helping me calm down when I get mad in the library. Right. And I was just going to say that what was in the minutes was they put a positive spin on when I said, if we're taking the people's phones and if we're investigating where they're working and that, I go, we will have a problem retaining teachers. That's what I said. And then it was just a positive spin that was put on it because I don't think that that's positive. And that's what I'm saying. I was probably misunderstood because the comments that I got from the people when they heard that their phones might be taken, it would be very uncomfortable if, they just don't want to give up their private phones. So anyways, okay, that was it.
Okay, Mr. Farr.
So I'm not going to say that Margaret loves to challenge me, but I think she does because I think she gives me these attitudes of gratitude that are quite humorous. So this attitude of gratitude is from Yerington Elementary School. My name is Andres, and I'm successful at my school, Yerington Elementary, because of Mom. I want to thank her for giving birth to me. Thanks, Margaret.
That's where it all starts, though.
Yes, that is the first step.
That's the first step of an education. Mine is from Fernley Fernley Intermediate School. It says, my name is Annie Stafford, and I am successful at Fernley Intermediate School because of Mrs. Ward. I want to thank her for teaching me math and science. When she teaches us, she makes it fun because we do experiments, which I'm sure is supposed to be experiments, and games to learn math and science.
Yep, mine is from Hope Matthews, who is successful at Silver Stage High School because of Mr. Pate. He helps me succeed by always being positive and make it so everyone is in a good mood and making the assessments easy and always inspires me to be a better person. I want to thank and acknowledge him for making advisory easy and always making it so fun. Also, for being such a great teacher who looks at me like a person and not just a student.
Ms. Farr.
My name is Delilah Espinoza, and I am successful at Riverview Elementary School because of Mrs. Kearns. I want to thank her for being nice, and she helps me when I need it, and she helps other kids, and we do fun stuff sometimes.
Mr. Palmer.
Just want to say I had Miss Kearns in 3rd grade, so that really made my night. My attitude of gratitude says, my name is Charlie McDonald, and I am successful at Dayton Elementary because of Mr. Sanchez. I want to thank him for helping me with math, reading, craft, kindness, helping others, writing better. He helps me sound out words and making sure I didn't get held back.
Mr. Morgan.
My name is Jackson D. Deschute, and I am successful at DES because of Miss McNate. I want to thank her for giving me the best fourth grade year ever. You gave me a valuable knowledge. You also loved reading us interesting books. I love The Whipping Box, which is a medieval times story. You were nice and kind to us. I loved how you were able to joke around and be serious. You are my favorite teacher and the best a kid could ask for. Love you sincerely, Jackson.
Thank you. And my name is Logan, and I am successful at Fernley Intermediate School because of my bus driver, Mr. Ross, bus number 4. I want to thank him because he takes me to school and home, and he is very nice. All right, moving down to item number 8, superintendent report. Mr. Logan.
Wonderful. I want to start out by thanking the Sutro staff for setting up and taking down, and for the food services, for Chartwells for helping us be fed before the meeting, as I foresee it probably being a little bit of a longer meeting, so that's always nice. Did want to recognize our student representative from Dayton High School, Blake Palmer. Blake, I knew since he was a little kid, and now he's a foot taller than I am at least, so that's fun to see him grow up. I also want to just recognize him. He was actually selected for the superintendent's advisory group as one of the students for the entire state. And so that's something that we're proud of, that he's representing us. And then he is also a EDU student and doing the Jumpstart program for Dayton High School. And so I think he is in the running for a valedictorian salutatorian right in there. So one of our smarty pantses of Dayton High School. And remind me, Mr. Cooey, does he report out at this moment, or is that? Okay, sorry, I was trying to remember the order.
At this point.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for the kind compliments. Something at Dayton High School I wanted to talk about was our social worker, Mrs. Ashley Doran, started a club called Hope Squad. And she started this 2 years ago, and Hope Squad is a suicide prevention group with like a peer-to-peer support system. So instead of having adults try to prevent suicide that often kids brush off and are kind of not willing to open up to that, we have peers go in and do that. And so peers are trained in some suicide, not techniques, some warning signs and stuff like that. And we're focused on mental health. And so I really like Hope Squad in that because it sounds great in theory and it's great in practice. I've had kids come to me, they go, I am having a panic attack, what do I do? Or they go, hey, what's the social worker's email? And so it reaches out. And I think just recently we inducted a lot of new members, I think 6 or 7 just out of the freshman grade. So it's a growing program and it just really helps the school mental health wise. So that's my piece.
Thank you, Blake. A couple other recognitions. Sorry to take the time, but I think it's a value here. One is, and she's going to kill me for this, but Margaret Heim was recognized by the NASB for being the board secretary of the year. And so we're proud of her for that. I would say that's the last time I'll do that, but it probably won't be a speech. And then also we had Wendy Matson was recognized by the NASB school board as well for being the Friends of the K-12 Public Education. And Wendy Matson represents the Healthy Communities Coalition. And so we're proud of her as well. It is also with a thankful heart that I want to recognize our outgoing board members. It's a thankless job. There's not really any money in it. It's just something that you're doing for the community that you're wanting to serve and for the students and kids and the families. And so it is with a thankful heart that I want to recognize our 3 outgoing. Phil Cooey's been with us for 4 years. And Holly Valines is 8 years. And Neil has been just under 2 years with us. And so I just want to thank you from the district. And we do have something little from our district. Bridget, did you want to say anything?
You know I want to say something. I just hope I don't cry. Where's my Kleenex? Oh, okay, well, I'll just keep it short, so hopefully I won't cry, but I too want to thank you guys for all of the hard work. It's not an easy job to sit up here. It's a lot of time and effort, and I'm just super grateful that you decided to jump and do this adventure with me because I was here, and I'm so glad you joined me. I appreciate all of your work and just want you to know that I'm grateful. So I'll miss you.
I'm going to ask Mr. Walker to come up to the table as well, and he would like to say a few words from Nevada Association of School Boards, NASB, as well as the LCAA.
So, Michael Walker.
Okay.
We just have a different technology we're at. My name is Michael Walker. I'm here speaking to you tonight as the president of the Nevada Association of School Boards and also as the president of the Lyon County Administrators Association. And the three of you may have missed the awards ceremony, but that doesn't mean NASB is going to let you get away that easily. So we want to recognize you all for your service. You know, the sacrifice that goes into serving on the board is something that isn't known by many. And you put a lot of time and effort in reading, researching. These meetings can be stressful because everything you do is in the public and you don't have time to think and process, and it puts you on the spot. But the other side of it is there are thousands of kids who have successfully completed their career in Lyon County School District because of your leadership. And so on behalf of them and the state and the Administrators Association, I want to thank you for your service and say personally, I'm proud to have called you all colleagues. So I have certificates and hopefully you'll allow us to take a picture so that we could share it with the association. And, you know, we like to recognize those who have served in our organization. And so I want to make sure that we commemorate this for the three of you also.
Well, we thought we would have the whole board come up. If you don't mind coming in the front, let's do one more photo. Okay.
One, two, three. Two. Very good.
Again, thank you. It's one thing I've noticed is when people are unhappy, they're here and you hear from them. But most of the time, when people are content, you never hear the thank you or job well done or anything like that. But no, for me personally, my family, my kids, thank you for all the work that you've done and the countless hours and having to put up with Mr. Workman and myself as well. So thank you once again. I have one more. For our board president, it's been a tradition that we present a gavel. And this does not work well with your spouse. I just want to let you know that I've tried it. Just kidding. But we would also like to recognize President Cooey, who has served the last 2 years as board president. I think the previous 2 were clerk, if I'm not mistaken. And so you'll get to have this nice little gavel, and once again, appreciate your service as the board president. Administrators right now are going, this is why the meetings are long, Mr. Logan. That is actually all I have, and I just want to wish everybody a happy holidays as well, and enjoy the time with family and friends, and getting away from school a little bit too. And so, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Logan. I should have mentioned it earlier during my board member reports, but there's a couple of cool activities coming up on Thursday here in the Dayton area. I know Dayton Elementary School is putting on an event, and also Riverview Elementary. So if you live in Dayton and don't have anything to do on Thursday night, go through those 2 schools. It's quite a good time. So, all right, with that, we'll move down to public participation. This is for items listed on the agenda. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on items on the agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, move down to item number 10, the consent agenda.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Ms. Valines. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0.
I did have a question on the JAG one. I was just wondering, who made the decision and why was it made for having a JAG in the intermediate in Dayton and not having one in Fernley also?
I'll briefly speak to it just because it's not necessarily an item, but it did start out with Silverland Middle School and Fernley High School. It did start out as a joint, just as well as it did for DHS and DIS. You have to kind of share a teacher at that point. And my understanding, JAG's the one that controls that largely, but there started being a greater need at Fernley High School. And they are a bigger school and just kind of ended up needing one full time. If at some point we're able to grow this, truly, it's largely a high school, but it does get into middle schools and intermediates as well. But it just kind of grew and kind of developed into just Fernley High School exclusively. But.
All right, item number 12, acceptance of the donations.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Valines.
I move that the Board of Trustees accepts the generous donations made to Silverland Middle School in the amount of $1,705 from Dolan Auto and $500 from the War Veterans of Fernley for their student recognition program.
Second.
All right, I think I got Mr. McIntyre that time. All right, so I got a motion by Ms. Valines, second by Mr. McIntyre. Any further discussion on item number 12? Ms. Parsons, this would be your opportunity to, if you have something with this item.
Nothing
Nothing? Okay.
with donations.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Appreciative
Aye.
of the donations.
Any opposed? At 7-0. All right, item number 13, discussion and possible action regarding LP insurance broker. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Joe Hogan, Benefit and Safety Risk Manager, Blake Smith, and LP Insurance Lead Consultant, Kevin Moynihan. Monahan, okay.
So I got a question before we get started. Did the teachers go for this or have they been presented it yet or not? Yeah.
Trustee Parsons, I will answer that question for you shortly. Blake Smith, for the record, I'm the district risk manager. President Cooey, excuse me, and fellow trustees, I would like to recommend to the board that based on a committee and our committee formed by the district and under professional services for the district, that it's our recommendation to have LP Insurance become our broker consultant for all of our health and employee benefit related items. So to answer your question, the committee was formed by many different members of the district because it's a professional services contract. We reviewed our current broker consultant relationship. We'd had them for 14 years, and we wanted to review and look at that based on due diligence and seeing what else was out there to benefit our employees and to give the best possible options to them for our employee benefits health plan. And so after our committee was formed, we put out an RFQ, request for qualifications. We took the top 3 from that RFQ and we did interview them as a committee. And then once our finalist was selected, that would be LP Insurance, we had them come to our benefits insurance committee meeting to introduce themselves. And so they knew what they were. Our benefits insurance committee was informed that we were looking at a possible new broker consultant for health insurance prior to forming that committee and prior to going out for the RFQ.
Okay, and then I have another question if nobody's got one. I seen that there was multiple options on there, but they kept talking about the like we're going to self-insure part of it or something like that. We didn't choose that option, did we, or did we?
No, we have not chosen any options for our employee benefits for this next upcoming fiscal year. We have not received those renewals yet. This was just a professional services contract for a broker to help us navigate our next renewal. So we have not selected any type of product, fully insured, self-insured, or level funded.
Well, the only reason I'm asking these questions is because last time we changed insurance, we lost teachers because it was hard to navigate. And they said, we're tired when we get home. We do not, they take care of kids all day long, multiple kids, and they go, we don't want to be, because the insurance company says, just give us a call, just give us a call. And they said they were having a hard time getting answers. So I'm hoping that with your company, that is something, so we don't lose any teachers this time, is that you take care of them right away and they have no problems.
It's a very valid point. And if any of you have ever read an insurance contract, you know that insurance ease is the language that we call it in the industry can be very complicated. So we're excited for what Kevin and his team are going to bring to the table to help with communication, help with product knowledge. So our staff are fully informed and know exactly what's happening with their benefits. And when our renewals are received, that information will be presented to our benefits insurance committee, which consists of our different associations, representatives from our different associations, and also a retiree that's on our plan. Those options will be presented to them and they will have an opportunity to take that back to their associations, their constituents, and present that to them before a decision is made. So any other questions?
Mr. Farr?
Yeah, Mr. Smith. So I read through quite a bit of the paperwork included with this LPI proposal. My biggest question, the one that has me the most concerned and has another one of our associations concerned because they called me directly concerned with this agenda item. I think you know where I'm going with this, and that is that we haven't revisited this in 3 years with this same company, but now our annual payment is going to double from $39,000 to $78,000 annually. Having not seen the last contract we approved, only seeing the current contract that we're approving, could you please justify that for me?
Yes. So we've been with our current broker, Clark & Associates, for 14 years, and that contract was on a year-to-year basis at approximately $40,000 a year, approximately. We felt that as the committee felt as the district continued to grow, we needed additional resources and value for our money, and we felt that LP Insurance provided that even with the increased cost. We feel like the savings we will see with their level of negotiation power and their experience and expertise, specifically with school districts, will help save us money on the back end with premiums and plan benefits.
You guys have a presentation you want to give us?
We do. Is there any other questions before I jumped into that?
Anybody else have any questions before we jump to the presentation?
All right.
Looks like, well,
Great. I'd like to officially introduce Kevin Monahan. He is the lead consultant for LP Insurance, and he will be presenting for us. Thank you.
Okay, again, everybody, for the record, Kevin Monahan, LP Insurance Services, and I appreciate the work everybody's done on the front end, reviewing it. I know it was a lot. I think it was 80 pages of information, so it's a lot to go through, and I appreciate the questions. I'm going to expand on both of those eventually, but what we did here is we consolidated those 80 pages into 8 or 9 slides, try to hit on what I think are some of the key points here. Try to do this quickly, but certainly want to get everybody familiar with who we are and the work that we do. And this is Logan here, who's part of the team as well. So, but Logan, if you could, please. It's a little blurry there. I don't know if there's any way to sharpen that. Hey, there we go. Okay, so just a quick history on LP Insurance. We are a Reno-based, Reno headquartered Nevada company. We have 5 offices across the state. We have offices in other states too, but our almost 100-year history started in Reno, where we still are for the most part, and that's really where our decisions made. The team that will be servicing Lyon County School District and their employees are also all based in Reno. What's different about LP Insurance is as we've continued to evolve over the years in our home state here, we've really built a model around servicing the public sector. So the skill set that we bring, which is different than the other agencies in the market, is a laser focus and a robust set of services that are targeted specifically to the public sector. Those are legal resources, regulatory resources, and certainly technical resources and experience that help us improve the situation for the public sector employers. Some of them are listed there. I can mention the legal, the regulatory aspects, the retirees, right? The retiree experience and resources there too. Please, Logan. Here's a current public client list. So these are all of the public employers. I mentioned that we're specific to the public sector, a large part of our operation. The ones in bold are school districts that we represent currently. So the brokering side is a very important aspect of what we do, and that is really the task of negotiating and bringing forth the best possible insurance rates and pricing for our clients. Lyon County School District spends approximately $12 million a year on its benefits package. It's an extremely big part of the budget, and it's extremely important for your employees. So our work in this space in particular is very important. We leverage our market presence, right? Our market share, you saw our client list. We use that in our negotiations. We use our experience with the other aspects of what we do here to leverage that. And we're really good at that. And we're really proud at that. There's almost 50 public employers listed there. You probably know people that work there. You probably work very closely with them. We'd welcome you to call any of them to check on the work that we do and the results on the pricing. To put that into perspective, and getting back to the fee, because I was expecting that question. The $40,000 increase is 1/3% of the district's benefits budget. We will have a bigger impact than that with the work that we do. So the brokering part, right? That's what we look at there. And then the employees rely on us very heavily too, the stakeholders, right? Their families, the retirees. We talked about people giving up on their insurance already. And we have a whole team behind us. There's 7 of us total that would be dedicated to Lyon School District. Many of those people are there to make sure that folks aren't giving up on their insurance, right? We're here to help. So every employee here, every one of their covered family members, retirees will have access to our representation in the market. And these are really the 4 buckets of the work that we do, right? I mentioned the broker technical. We're highly strategic and we're highly technical in the work that we do. The claims analysis, the data analysis. We have an underwriter on staff who used to work for the insurance companies. That was his job, the guy behind the curtain setting the rates. And now his job on our team and your team is to keep the insurance companies in check. So he's a really great resource on that side. We're going to forecast. I know finance was part of the team, the renewal forecasting, the budgeting, the planning is a big part of what we do on that side too. And keep going there, Logan. Thank you. We're going to support the district staff, those same team of folks. That includes technological resources and review. Blake mentioned the contract review, the carrier work, certainly included in the administrative services. Compliance, I won't even begin to talk about that. I don't want to put everybody to sleep here, but the NRS is a big part of that. There's some really unique statute governing what school districts can do with their benefits plans. We're experts in that space. We're going to help keep the district out of trouble from a legal standpoint, help navigate that maze, in addition to the federal legislation too, of course. And then the communication is another one that I wasn't planning on spending much time on, but since the question came up specifically about employees giving up on their insurance and the frustration, that's an area where we're going to put a lot of focus, and it's the old teach a man to fish story, right? One of the things that we talked about with the committee, we've talked about with the insurance committee already, is empowering people at the district not to fight the problems when they come up, but to avoid the problems on the front end, which really comes through just a fundamental understanding of how their insurance plans work, how to navigate a network, how a deductible works, what's a copay. Most people, most organizations, believe it or not, don't know those things. And we have found and received a lot of good feedback, a lot of appreciation from folks when we teach them those things. And that's going to be a big part of the work we do at the district too, is to help everybody, look behind the curtain, whatever, but just that fundamental stuff on how to navigate the insurance, how to keep their costs down on the front end and utilize a lot of the resources that are already there. So that's going to be a big part too. And then here's the team. Myself, I have ultimate responsibility for everything that we do. You can see Logan there. He'll be very involved in everything that we do. Several folks on the service team, which are picking up the phones, meeting with the employees, the administrative staff to take care of those resources. And there's John, our underwriter, and Stacy, who does the legal work for us on the benefits compliance. So that's the end of the presentation. Happy to answer questions or hand it back over to Blake, whatever works for the board.
All right, any further questions after seeing the presentation?
President?
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
I move the Board of Trustees appoint LP Insurance Services as Lyon County School District Broker of Record, effective January 1st, 2025.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Ms. Lyons. Any further questions? Can you turn on your microphone, Ms. Parsons, so we can pick up?
Was that
all your-
part of it?
So the Benefits Insurance Committee, which has our association representatives on that committee, they were informed that we were going out to look at broker options. They were informed, and then when a selection was made by the selection committee, Kevin and his team did an introduction on our last Benefits Insurance Committee meeting, which was on the 12th.
And they were happy with it, huh?
Yes.
I think what Ms. Parsons is talking about is probably apples to oranges, so this is the insurance broker. I think what you're talking about is when we've switched different insurance companies as a district and having some of the employees not really being in favor of that based on some of the, doctors that were eligible under one plan that weren't eligible under another plan. So this is a totally different process that they're talking about. So the insurance broker basically goes out and contracts with different insurance companies to give the district the best deal. And
I can speak a little more to the meeting with the insurance committee, because that was the first time that we had met them. We had 3 members from our team there. And I would say that the engagement, and I don't want to speak for them, but I can tell you that the engagement with the committee I felt was very positive and productive. There was some real good insight into what their concerns are with the plan and the things that they need, that they're looking for their families. And those are all things that we are able to do very easily for them. So I think it'll be a really positive relationship. And as we start looking at the plans and weighing the options too, I know we'll be having a lot more conversation with them.
Okay.
all right, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 14, discussion of possible action regarding the FY25 augmented budget. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Operations Harmon Baines and Fiscal Services Officer Kyle Rodriguez.
All right, Kyle Rodriguez, Fiscal Services Officer for the record. So tonight we are bringing forward the December augmented budget or amended budget. So per NRS 354, we have to augment or amend our budget off of first quarter ADE for the general fund. And then we bring the rest of the funds, fund balances from the ending fiscal year. So since we brought the audit forward last month, we are now truing up our ending fund balance and beginning fund balance for FY25 for all the remaining funds besides the general fund. So the general fund, we had 73 students less than budgeted, which was an $842,000 decrease. However, we had a $769,000 surplus in ending fund balance and an additional $50K. So the total amendment to our budget was just $22,000, which the general fund can easily absorb and accommodate these expenses. That is all I had. I'll answer any questions at this time.
All right, any questions, Ms. Parsons? Do you have anything?
And Tom's got one.
All right, Mr. Hendricks.
I have a couple of questions, Kyle, Mr. Rodriguez. I noticed we have some increases here and some funds. So I just was hoping you could explain, like the capital projects fund has a sizable 2.48 million. And I've looked on the next agenda item and I'm wondering which one of those categories was responsible for this increase.
So for capital projects exclusively, there's timing issues with construction, as we all know. So $1.7 million was carryover from last fiscal year's projects to this. And then investment earnings were higher, and then budget savings on projects that we did not get to. So work capital, like work in progress from fiscal year 24 to 25 was 1.7 million. And then we had about $700,000 in investments from the last time I brought forward the capital projects fund to be augmented. So capital projects funds, not to bore everybody, you can use ending fund balance as you need, and that's adjusted through our quarterly reports. So I don't have to bring those forward under NRS 354. So not that we would need to, but if we wanted to use those funds, I can dip into ending fund balance, which is not the same for any major funds or special revenue funds in the district.
Okay. Thank you. I was just thinking possibly you made some extremely good investments and got some great returns, but it sounds like you did get the 700,000. So that's substantial.
Yeah, so you are 100% correct. The last couple of years has been very good with interest rates, and Mr. Rodriguez here has done a remarkable job with investing money that we have throughout the district. We are no longer a mom and pop school district. We are a $200 million organization. So our money must always be working, and he's done a phenomenal job investing that. So when you go into the CIP, you will see our bonds investments at the bottom. You'll see our capital projects investments at the bottom, and our general fund investments go right back into the general fund. So you're 100% on point, and it's a good thing to catch and highlight here as we bring forward the budget and the CIP.
I know you've done a phenomenal job in many ways for our district, so.
I appreciate that. And FY 24's investments totals were over 3.6 million. So,
Thank you.
of course.
Mr. Farr.
So Kyle and Harmon, I'm seeing that we have $235,000 in change, additional resources from the residential construction tax. How does that compare with years past? I mean, are we kind of just seeing a steady growth with construction, and those are the residuals that we're getting to our district from that?
So again, this is primarily, it's not increase of revenue. So when we budget our expenses, so we bring forward the budget in May, and then we budget our expenses. If we don't get to it, that ending fund balance is obligated. And then as we come to this time period, I'm now making those resources available at a public meeting so everyone is aware. So it's not an increase of revenue, it's just an increase of resources that we can spend.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and also to your point, if you, again, the very next agenda item is the CIP, and this is why we like to bring both items together. So in the residential construction tax portion at the very bottom, you will see actual FY 23 revenue, actual FY 24 revenue, and what we're estimating for 25. So, yeah, to your point, yes, we have seen an increase. However, that is, again, in the two major areas that we have, that we see growth, which is Dayton and Ferndale.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McIntyre.
And those construction taxes, those stay within the community, right? I mean, it's not district-wide, so whatever Furley brings in stays in Furley. Whatever Yerington brings in stays in Yerington, so.
Correct.
That's an overall number and not really broke down by the cities. I know you did it further down in the next one, but. Correct, yeah, that's an overall number. However, the CIP does break it down by area. And you are correct, that does stay within the area, the attendance area. And it is used strictly per NRS for school playground improvements. So it's not something that, we can utilize in any other way. So you'll see a lot of stuff like gym bleachers, playground equipment, slides being repaired, stuff like that used for that, with that money. Just so in case the public has the questions of like, why is Fernley getting all this equipment and Yerington's not, or Smith Valley's not? This is why.
Yes,
Thank you.
this is just what's presented to the Department of Taxation.
All right, I just want to make a comment. So I think it gives me PTSD every time I got to look at one of these things, but I do look at it page by page. Once again, excellent job on doing the amended budget. And the audit, I'll just mention that again as well from last month. Great job. I think, those capital funds are they're in good shape. So definitely some good projects that can be done with those. So that's all the only comment I have. Ms. Peterson.
I'll move the Board of Trustees approve the FY 25 augmented budget.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Mr. Farr. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. Thank you. Item number 15, discussion and possible action regarding an update to the 5-year capital improvement plan to match the FY 25 augmented budget. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Operations Harmon Baines and Fiscal Services Officer Kyle Rodriguez.
Mr. President, members of the board, again, we bring the CIP, 5-year CIP forward with our budget just to show alignment. As you can tell, it's a very busy document with lots of updates. We've touched on several items in the agenda item before, so I'm going to go ahead and just stop there and see if we have any further questions with the 5-year CIP.
Yeah, there was something that I didn't understand very well. They said that a lot of districts are going to be having problems. Is it because of ESSER funds, or that there's going to be a reduction in some funds?
So I've not heard that. I've heard the concerns from other rural districts on the bonding capacity problems that, again, we do not face. So we are winners in all circumstances of funding in the state. But where we sit in general fund and capital funds, we are very healthy right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McIntyre.
So with the new master plan that we're currently doing, how is this going to be integrated into that new master plan? I mean, is this subject, obviously it's subject to change, it's just a forecast, but I just wanted to see how that's built into this already.
Correct. So it is not built into this. So as the new master plan, is going to ultimately decide how we use future bond proceeds, not the current capital projects and residential construction tax. Those we got 2 years before that bond proceeds are kind of up for everybody to decide whether we build schools or whatnot. However, these projects, for the majority of them, are already approved by the board. So unless they get unapproved, or the board directs us to head in a different direction, it's going to stay kind of status quo.
Any further discussion? A long list of projects. I mean, you look at the last 3 years, there's a lot. Good job.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Farr.
make a motion that the Board of Trustees approve the 5-year capital improvement plan as a result of the FY25 budget augmentation.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Mr. Farr, second by Mr. McIntyre. Any further discussion? I seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, guys. All right, item number 16, discussion and possible action regarding updates from the Dayton area principals, Chase Whitford, Michael Walker, Rachel Hansen, Kevin Kranchek, and Julie Baumgartner. Mr. Whitford, looks like you're up first, I think.
Mr. Woodford, I'm the principal at Dayton Elementary. Normally I lean on the examples that go before me, so what happened to alphabetical order? Mr. Hendricks, I'd like to invite you to come help with lunch duty any day, and I'll even buy your lunch. So I just want to start by giving some highlights from last year. I think we had a phenomenal school year. We were honored as a Purple Star school. That was a huge highlight for us. We were able to host several family events. We did our trunk or treat for the first time, our Polar Express, Sierra Nevada STEM Night, our Color Run, and a Bobcat Mash. We had a great turnout for our summer school. We had over 120 kids sign up. Average daily attendance was 85 to 90 kids. So that's great. Our students were able to participate in several workplace learning opportunities. They ranged from career fairs, field trips, guest speakers. Hasn't been a huge highlight of our school, but or a focus of our school, but overall on our SBAC assessments, we did see over 8% growth in the proficiency in ELA and 4% for math. So looking forward this year, our goals, we're going to focus on the Lyon County School District Portrait of a Learner, and we're going to really focus on connected learners and creating a sense of belonging. We really want to target chronic absenteeism, and making kids feel welcoming and belonging is our goal. So we would like to bring that from it's close to 24% down to 20% this next year. Our second goal, we're going to target our tier 1 instruction across the board. And so we're looking at 63% of students hitting typical growth on their iReady math assessment, and 50% on reading. 50% of kids will hit that growth goal for the school year.
All right, thank you for that report. Any questions? Mr. Hendricks.
Congratulations on your increase on the SBAC math and ELA scores. When were those tests given?
April.
April. And when did you get the results?
End of summer.
Okay. So goal number 1, you want to beat your goal by 12%. That's pretty ambitious.
That was for our results from last year. We wanted to, at the beginning of the year on our iReady math diagnostic, 9% of kids were in that tier 1. And we wanted to improve that by 30%. At the end of the year, we ended up having 51% of kids. So we beat that goal by 12%.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Great teachers.
So, by spring 2024, you want 25% students will complete relevant activities with families concerning learning at school to real life application. Can you explain that for me?
What we were trying to do is really complete that circle, that kids are showing up at school, they're learning a skill, and then they're taking it out and applying it in the real world setting. Maybe they're learning at a lower age, maybe they're learning an addition concept and going into the store, applying what they learned in the classroom, and then having parents kind of fill something out, kind of a reflection sheet, and bring that back to us. It was a goal to get a bunch of those. At the end of the year, a lot of them did not come back. You know, we sent them home, trying to get them back. We know it's happening, but just trying to get it back.
So that would be parental involvement. Okay, so,
Yep.
thank you.
You bet.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I was just gonna make a comment. I mean, you definitely get a lot of parents there for your event, so it's great to see. So I'm looking forward to Thursday night and seeing all the cars lined up for the Polar Express.
Thank you. I'll
All right.
save a candy cane for you.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Hot chocolate too.
And congratulations on the Purple Star School.
All right, Miss Hanson, or Mr. Walker, sorry. That's the way it's listed here.
Good evening. So highlights from last year, we had a successful summer school program. We had 60 students participate from grades 1 through 6 in a STEM program that was hosted at Riverview due to construction on our site. Students received not only opportunities for hands-on STEM activities, but also remediation in ELA and mathematics. And when you look at our incoming kindergartners, about 90% of them attended back to school roundup. So parents and students learned skills, were acquainted with our school, and also prepared to start the year successfully. Our PBIS team is still working on tier 2 interventions, and so we're putting a lot of efforts into tier 1 instruction and using our PLC teams to plan for effective instruction, but also remediation of important skills for our students. And one of the challenges, we did a lot of work a couple of years ago with creative leadership solutions, and we've had some turnover since then. So we are restarting that process in training in January. So one of the things we've been doing is we have, last year we had 20-minute intervention blocks for each grade level. And this year we've expanded those to 45 minutes. And that's also the time when we're trying to have all of our special education and our ELL teachers pull out, so students aren't missing tier 1 instruction for interventions. And so this is a work in progress because we're learning how to collaborate and really plan effectively for those interventions. And reflecting on last year, we had, the last couple of years, we've had a goal of reduction of 10% of kids who were underperforming on standardized tests. And it's been really challenging. We've been missing the mark. And so we made a more attainable goal this year. And so our goal is to reduce the number of students who are underperforming by 3%. And then we also want to see a 3% reduction in the number of students who are on reading acceleration plans. And then our school climate goal is, of course, to address chronic absenteeism, which is a real challenge at elementary school, because what we find is the students are motivated to be here, but if the families have something going on or there's a vacation, you know, the kids have to go where the parents are. And so since the pandemic, one of the things we've seen statewide, nationwide, is that there has been a real change in this culture around school attendance. When everybody went remote, it almost feels like families started to believe that if you missed school, you could just make it up by doing something online. And we certainly know there's no replacement for an effective teacher providing instruction for students.
Excellent point. Is that it, Mr. Walker?
That's it.
All right, any questions for Mr. Walker? All right,
Thank you.
great report, thank you. Ms. Hanson.
Good evening. So I'm just going to go over our goals from last year, and then I'll do a couple highlights throughout the year at the end. Our student success goal last year was that students' reading MAP scores will increase 10% from fall to spring, from 26% to 36%, so that by the 25-26 school year, 50% of students will be proficient on the reading fall maps. That's been our goal for the last few years because we want students coming into school retaining that knowledge from the previous year. Last year, we did not meet that. Our student reading proficiency increased 4%, not 10%, from 26 to 30%. However, this fall, 32% of our students were proficient, so that's a 2% increase from the spring and a 6% from last year. And our adult learning culture goal, our goal was RES teachers will improve intervention instruction during intervention blocks with the use of small groups for ELA. 100% of our teachers did implement small group instruction to differentiate for their students and meet their needs. 75% of our teachers participated in peer observations to witness different management styles of small group in different classrooms. And we did hold weekly PLC meetings with all grade levels to plan collaboratively and look at student work. And our third goal, the connectedness goal last year, was that we will improve school culture so that parents, students, staff, and all stakeholders feel safe at RES and participate in school events. We do a few surveys throughout the year. On our end of year survey, 97% of parents reported feeling safe with their child at RES. 90% of staff members reported feeling safe at work. 96% of parents reported feeling welcome by their child's teacher. 97% of parents reported feeling welcome in our school, and 93% of parents came to one or more of our family events. And all of these numbers increased from the previous year on that survey. We did hold 11 family events last year. We did our trunk or treat, which we had about 42 cars participate in that. We did our Christmas concerts. We had 5 teachers become nationally certified STEM teachers, and that created our campus to be a nationally certified STEM school. And we are really working hard to give our students real world STEM experiences. 60 of our 4th through 6th grade girls and 60 of our 4th through 6th grade boys went to a field trip to TMCC last year to their Edison campus to see some of those college courses that they could take, those hands-on courses. And then we just did that again last month for our kids. And our Camp Invention Summer School program, where we hosted 80 of our students and 80 of Sutro students to give them that STEM enrichment over the summer.
Great report. Mr. Farr.
So I just kind of have a question. This is actually geared probably more towards Mr. Logan, because I don't want to put you on the spot, Rachel, to answer for grade school principals. But I've noticed in our walkthroughs, we've seen some pretty amazing stuff in the classrooms with the small group and the interventional reading. And I've talked to teachers at various schools who seem to really like the way we're doing it. And you talk to some of the kids and you can see that they're really getting something out of it. How much have we done with communicating with the parents that we're using this strategy in the classroom?
We do highlights through Ms. Cowger is largely what we've done, but I would say a lot of that communications probably is going through the school. And you are right. I think we could probably always do more highlighting all the successful things that we're doing as a district. But I think you're going to see a little bit of both, I think is what probably needs to happen.
Riverview does send out a monthly newsletter to parents as well, highlighting our super citizen theme for the month, what our PBS incentive parties are, events happening in the school, highlighting students and our leadership kids, and does talk about our instruction. So like this month, we'll be working on such and such in HMH and in iReady, and we're doing this STEM project in 5th grade or whatever it might be.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Hendricks?
So good numbers here on your goals, on goal number 3. The one I was going to ask you about was the 90% of staff members reported feeling safe at work. So do you have any insight into why 10% don't necessarily feel safe at work?
Unfortunately, I would have to say, the conversations that I've had are mostly related to school shootings and,
What?
school shootings. Last year, there was a second grader who shot their teacher in Texas, and that was a big topic of conversation at our elementary school.
Okay, you have single point entry or modified single point entry there?
Yes.
And you have perimeter fences?
Mhm.
So is there a certain issue that makes them feel unsafe?
I can't really speak to that. We
Okay.
haven't had any issues of weapons at our school or anything else. Again, I think that it's just a society and being scared of what could happen every day. I mean, that's in any place. You can go into a store, right? But I think that I can't speak to the teachers feeling that way exactly.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? Thank you. Great report. Mr. Kranchek?
Good evening, Kevin Kranchak, principal at Dayton Intermediate School. Before I get started, I just want to take a quick moment and thank members of the cabinet and the board for the card that you sent my family last month, knowing that my son was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. I really appreciate the kind words and everything else in the card. So thank you for all your well wishes. He's home and on the mend, and had his second night of basketball practice tonight. So he's come a long way in a month. So thank you. First of our highlights, one of the ones that we're most proud of this year, it's been in the works for the last year and a half or so with Mr. Giannotti at the district office and trying to increase the CTE courses that we actually have in the middle school. And this year we were finally able to get that to happen. We've got a beginner's woodshop class. It's basically a woodshop in a box curriculum. And our students are doing an awful lot of great things just with their hand tools. There's no power tools or anything like that. A lot of different hand tools, measurement, and things of that nature. They've been building anything from a little pinball board to a toolbox to a little CD case or a trinket case kind of a deal. So there's tons of different projects that they've been doing and the kids are really enjoying that a lot. The other one is a Teening to Adulting or a beginning culinary class that we've started this year. Knowing that we've got the culinary program up at the high school, we've been working on that with our students, and all the students that have taken that class so far this semester have already done and completed their Safe Serve and have been working within the kitchen and learning all the safety aspects of it. So another great opportunity for our students with the hands-on experiences. Last year, we held our 8th annual 4.0 dinner. We've had some family outreach. This year, we were able to work with the National Guard Anti-Drug Task Force, and we did an assembly and really trying to hit home on the anti-vaping pieces of it in education. And along with that, we've been able to install 6 vape detectors within our building that we were able to get with help from Healthy Community Coalition. And then last year, our Student Council and Leadership Group for the 7th straight year was awarded the Battle Born Award for middle schools. And we are every year one of only 2 or 3 schools or middle schools in the state that receives this award. And we've now done it for 7 straight years. So Mrs. Etter has done a great job leading that group. It is truly student led in what they often do. She does an excellent job of overseeing it. So they are to be commended. This year, our goals are that we're going to have a 50% of our students meet their typical growth goal and 20% of our students meet their stretch growth goal for their iReady diagnostic assessments. And then 50% of our students meet their targeted growth goal in ELA reading as demonstrated by their ELA MAPS assessment. So trying to hit that growth goals across the board. And then also trying to increase our work-based learning opportunities for our students from an overall number of 10 last year. We're going to try to double that, which we're already going to be able to easily do. from the time that we created this and just giving students different opportunities, whether it be through field trips and a coffee cart that our CLS class is running and trying to help in teaching those students preparation and a little bit of money counting and everything else of the food that they're doing and selling breakfast and coffees to our students at school. So we've got several different opportunities on campus that we're proud of as well.
All righty, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kranchek? All right, got off easy. Better hurry.
Hello, I'm Julie Baumgartner, principal at Dayton High School. I'll start off with some highlights that I kind of grouped in different areas. First, in the area of academics, we had a graduation rate of 92.64%. We had 47 students earn the Millennium Scholarship and 12 students earned the Nevada Promise Scholarship. We graduated 10 students last year with their associate's degree from WNC. We had 9 students earn the Seal of Biliteracy. And then Dayton High School received a bronze level award for our work with PBIS and MTSS. In the area of the arts, our theater troupe won the Silver Honor Troupe at state, and we had 2 students compete at the International Thespian Festival. Our choir earned superior ratings at the Zone Choir Festival. We had 7 students who qualified for Zone Honor Band and Honor Choir, and 7 students that qualified for all state level groups. And we had 13 students awarded Scholastic Art Awards, and we had 100% pass rate on the AP Art Portfolio exam. In CTE, we had 14 students earn CTE seals on their diplomas. Our Future Business Leaders of America chapter had its first state champions in digital animation, and we had 11 students compete at the national level, with one of those students placing in the top 15 in the nation. We also had 100% pass rate for the state nursing exam and for licensure, and we had 7 students who graduated holding CNA licenses. And then one of our nursing students also won the bronze award at the state level. In athletics, we had a cross-country athlete and two track athletes and 1 boys golf team member go to state. Our DHS cheerleaders competed at nationals, and we also had 5 student athletes last year committing to play at the college level. Our areas of focus for this year, really we're focusing on that by the end of the 2024-25 school year, we will have 88% of our students on track to graduate. This means that our freshmen will have at least 5 credits, sophomores will have at least 11 credits, juniors will have at least 17 credits, and seniors will have at least 23 credits. And then like the other schools in our area, we're really focused on reducing chronic absenteeism. Last year, our rate was 38.9%, which is extremely high. We're not proud of that at all. We want to reduce it by 10% this year. It's a lofty goal, but we're committed to doing so. And we are going to do this by focusing on identifying and supporting our at-risk students, enhancing student engagement so students want to be at school and want to learn, and then improving our communication with families, anything from attendance policies to the resources we have available to help support them. That's right.
All right, Mr. Farr.
So I was very impressed with the young man here on the panel who was speaking about your social work program.
Help Squad.
And I like the peer-to-peer aspect of it. I went to a panel a few months ago in Las Vegas. It was called the CUBE Conference. And these are urban schools, but as we're starting to learn, that doesn't mean a whole lot in this day and age. We all have the same problems with absenteeism. One of the things that the panel talked about was a very similar program to what this young man was talking about with suicide prevention, but it was a peer-to-peer contact thing for absenteeism. And I was wondering if that was something you might want to look at exploring.
Absolutely.
As far as identifying at-risk kids and then having a peer for, each grade level or teams of peer level support people to check in on certain students.
Absolutely. Yeah, we currently have it set up with some adult mentoring. Last year, we identified a large group of seniors who are at risk, particularly for attendance. And of course, being at the end, we want to make sure they graduate and are in school to turn their credits and walk across that stage. And so we did a lot of individual teacher mentoring with that, but I'm definitely open to a peer-to-peer.
Yeah, the panel I visited, it was interesting. There was a young man that spoke to about how they would take the seniors and they would assign them sophomores and freshmen, and they each had about 20, and they had a phone tree because they all have devices these days. And so it was like, I would look around, and if one of my proteges wasn't in school, I'm blowing up his phone. Where are you? Why aren't you in school today? Why didn't I see you in class? You know, and it started working. The peer pressure actually started working from
Yeah.
that, just from that simple aspect.
I like it. We used to have a freshman transition program that was similar before we had advisory. And it was juniors and seniors who were kind of those peer mentors to a group of freshmen with the teacher. So yeah, I definitely would be open to something like that. Yeah. Other questions?
That would work really well hand in hand too with the SOB, the Student Attendance Advisory Board that I've been part of. That could be another resource if a school has that, at their fingertips to use and the SOB knows about it. They could reach out to this family and say, all right, well, we can get you in touch with one of your peers and, talk with them about it. And so maybe that's something we can incorporate into that board.
And I can bring it up. I do student focus groups each quarter. And so that's something I can bring up to students, see if that's something they're interested in and they think would help as well. Absolutely.
All right, any further questions? Mr. Hendricks?
I wanted to thank you for explaining your 95, 96, and 110 math courses.
Yeah.
Sounded like a great plan to help these students out and getting them what they need. I know that math is a building block type of subject, so I think that's a good idea. I did want to ask you about your plan to reduce chronic absenteeism by 10%.
Yeah, it's lofty, I'll be honest.
What are you going to do differently than you did last year?
I think it's earlier intervention. So we are definitely more on top of our attendance data this year earlier and really trying to, first of all, communicate with families that what our attendance policies are, why it's important that their kid is in school, especially with our freshmen, why credits are important, because a lot of times they don't understand that concept of earning credits, for example, and why you need to be in school to earn credits. And pairing them up with those right now adult mentors, but again, I'm open to the peer mentors. We also are really working on with staff on building relationships. And because if we have staff and students that are connected, they want to be there. And I also, for me, being the former music teacher that I know that extracurriculars play a huge part in student attendance. And so I'm always looking for new ways to bring new programs in, new clubs, new organizations that get kids wanting to be at school. And those carry their own attendance policies. You can't play in the basketball game tonight if you're not in school that day. And it gives those kids a reason to really want to be connected to Dayton High School and want to be at school so that they can engage in those co-curricular and extracurricular activities.
All righty, thank you for that report.
Thank you.
With that, we'll take a 10-minute break. Be fine. All right, call this meeting back to order. Item number 17, discussion of possible action regarding the Lyon County School District Performance Plan. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Education Services, Jim Giannotti, and Heather Moyle, and Executive Director of Special Services, Rachel Stewart. Mr. Giannotti.
Thank you, President Cooey, pardon me. Members of the board, it's Jim Giannotti for the record. Tonight, we're updating the board on progress made thus far on the items in the district performance plan that we presented and the board approved in April. There are some highlights we would like to address, and then we will open it up for questions. As part of goal 1, we hope to show a 1% increase in graduation rate at the end of the 24-25 school year. As presented last month, the Lyon County School District had an improved graduation rate of more than 1%, with 87.77% of last year's cohort graduating.
All right, good evening. So as part of goal 1, improvement strategy 1 is progress monitoring of IEP goals using a progress monitoring system to ensure students are achieving those IEP goals. The first highlight to report is that we've established a progress monitoring system for our special education teachers and related service providers to monitor the IEP goals and objectives for our students through a platform called AbleSpace. We're seeing usage of the system with 500 to 600 average data points logged daily since September. This will allow our teachers and providers to monitor in real time students' progress towards IEP goals. And ultimately, students achieving IEP goals will lead to students with IEPs earning standard diplomas at a higher rate, which will then increase our graduation rates.
Good evening. Also, as part of goal 1, improvement strategy 2, the focus is on the development of data decision rules, which are DDRs, within our district's tier 1, tier 2 MTSS team. And this is for our tier 2, tier 3 interventions. Scroll there. Here, I'll read yours. After mine's not moving. Okay, and also too, as part of goal 1, improvement strategy 3, the focus is on the portrait of a learner student learning tool and using this tool to identify the professional development needs of our educators to support student-centered learning. To date, walkthrough data has been collected at all of our schools around the domains of lifelong learners and connected learners.
All right. With goal 2, since our annual performance objective 1 for this goal is to increase work-based learning opportunities by 10% during the 24-25 school year, we work to train staff on identifying work-based learning opportunities. And I just want to give a shout out to all of our principals here tonight because they all in some way, shape, or form mentioned work-based learning opportunities being done at their schools. And I can't express the importance of that and showing students the relevance of what they're learning beyond the walls of their classroom. So with admin and counselors as well as CTE teachers, they've been trained and we are currently capturing work-based learning opportunities through a Google form once a month. We update that with each of the sites, and the district has currently captured more than 200 activities thus far this year that have taken place with more than 400 CTE work experiences, general work experiences, and industry recognized credentials as well. Improvement strategy 2, developing a system for identifying work-based learning opportunities is the focus on this one. We are currently working on the purchase of the School Links platform to track experiences for students as they are granted opportunities. We are currently waiting for state approval. We're in the final stages of state approval on those funds, and we're hoping that we can purchase that platform and get rolling with that and train on that in the coming months. Annual performance objective 2 was to increase the total number of students participating in work-based learning activities by 10%. As of December 4th, there were over 2,465 students that have been reported as taking part in said activities. And I know for a fact that there's been a lot more since then, just because of students taking the ASVAB. a number of field trips as Principal, sorry, not Kuhn anymore. Sorry, Hanson. Sorry, Rachel. Principal Hanson mentioned. I'm old, Rachel, forgive me. And then we have asked staff to incorporate work-based learning opportunities into their Tier 1 instruction, and we are tracking that through the walkthroughs as well as the Google form. For improvement strategy 2, part of this work requires that we incorporate work-based learning into a student's academic plan at high school. Counselors at the high school are always tracking these opportunities. We've already seen an increase of more than 40%, which is exciting because we've gone from about 288 in the fall of last year to 410 this fall. Our annual performance objective 3 for this goal was our retention, pardon me, it's our intention that we would increase the percentage of attained post-secondary credits for students in CTE pathways by 5%. And with our collaboration with WNC and UNR to increase those offerings, we have surpassed our goal of 5% and have achieved more than 100% growth with more than 114 students enrolled in dual credit offerings for CTE related coursework through both of those institutions. So at this point, if you have any questions, we would be more than happy to try and answer.
Thank you, Mr. Giannotti. Mr. Farr.
So, Mr. Giannotti, I'm looking at your pie chart here of the different work-based learning activities that you broke down by everything from industry recognized credentials to industry tours. I'm noticing that it looks to me like the industry tours and the guest speaker categories are something that you could improve on with, especially at the middle and high school levels, that exposure thing. The reason I asked that is because I was telling Mr. Logan a couple weeks ago, we had a couple of minutes to talk about some things. And one of the things I mentioned to him that I noticed that my daughter's orthodontist has 2 students now who are dental hygienist tech students, who one of them is a Fernley High graduate who just graduated last year. And she was in the CNA program, and that helped her catapult into this dental hygiene school that she's almost finished with now. And as we know, that field probably pays really well for somebody that age to go into. But she learned about it from doing a visit when she was part of the CNA program, a tour of some different medical regulated occupations that they could go into later. And I wanted to see is that's something we can expand upon.
Certainly, we encourage all of our principals to seek different opportunities. We have in the past even utilized some CTE funds when available to help afford those field trips and pay for the transportation. But certainly, we're always encouraging our schools to take advantage of those opportunities. I know that at Silverland, the counselors are working on different field trips currently for some career exploration and awareness.
I don't want that to ever be budget on transportation being a conflict or an obstacle for these type of things. I don't think the rest of the board would want that either. So
the only restriction in terms of CTE funds is if it's not written specifically in the grant. But we do have general funding that we can work with the schools. I've never told them no. I'll just say that. I'm sure Mr. Logan and Mr. Baines can attest to that.
Having a bus driver is a different story. But
Sure.
the funding is not the issue on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Farr. Any further questions? All right. Anybody else? All right, great presentation. Thank you. Ms. Peterson.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the school district performance plan.
Seconds.
I got a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Mr. McIntyre. Further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Passes 7-0.
I just want to make one comment on that. I do appreciate putting in the questions ahead of time. That really actually allowed us to think through our process a little. And so thank you for doing that.
All right, item number 18, discussion and possible action regarding the mid-year review of the superintendent. This item is being presented by myself. All right, I'm not sure how you guys want to do this. If we want to go through each trustee and just talk a little bit about the process and how we came up with the rating that we did. That work? Or how do you guys want to do this?
That's fine with me.
So I'll start over here and we'll just go around the table. So Mr. Hendricks.
I just looked at the test scores that we have right now and see need for a lot of improvement. I know we have a brand new superintendent and I have great expectations for him. And I look forward to working with him and achieving some goals that the new board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parsons.
Okay, let's see, the first thing was student achievement proficiency. And so I don't know if you want me to go through these one by one, but I gave does not meet expectations. And then the reason I put down was because of test scores. And CTE, workplace, learning participation. I know that there's a plan addressing the food program in Fernley. And so I feel like that's addressing areas of growth. And so let's see, the next one is graduation rates, and that's down the line. And I said we have a reasonable graduation rate. Students with specialized learning needs are met, and I put that we did meet those. And district goals on that, I put, I do not believe that Portrait of Learner has been effective. And mostly it's from the comments that I hear, like, oh my, we had to go through another training of Portrait of a Learner. I felt like I was going to put a gun to my head. It was so boring. They could have said it in 4 sentences, and we had to sit there for a whole hour. And so anyways, I just feel like, and they're making fun of it, and I don't like that because they're using my religion to make fun of that little symbol. And so anyways, I just don't like the program in general. Okay, and next, youth as public information strategies. I go, you know, to inform the public. I go, we're doing pretty good there. And then the next one was more unethical standards. And I put shoving in so many policies right after the election when we didn't have the chance to really read them, not to really talk to our constituents about them. There was just too many, too much all at once. So on that, I definitely needs improvement. Explores and develop ways to find common ground in dealing with difficult and decisive issues. And I said on this one, I would need an example of when that ever happened. I mean, I don't think it ever did. Okay, implements personnel procedures, recruitment, and retain. Well, retention and recruitment and all that, it's I don't know, it's not working. We have, a terrible exit survey for the district. So of course, that's the first thing that we got to work on when we come back and get started, because that in our survey, and I don't even think those were good survey questions that I heard. I would like to do another survey and like implement some of our questions, because even with those questions though, it was, a dismal district rating. Let's see. The others are pretty good. Let's see, like the emergency operation plan, I put excellent. Social emotional learning, I think that's moving up on the scale. I gave it an excellent. Let's see. I guess that's about it.
All right, thank you for that glowing report. Mr. Farr.
So I broke it down on my review of the superintendent, keeping two factors in mind. One, he's in his relatively his 6th month on the job. So I kept that in mind as far as a mid-year review that he is just starting. So a lot of these things will be still considered in progress as we see. So I kept that in mind when I looked down through the standards that what we were rating the superintendent on. So some of those things, obviously, I don't think I could have awarded exceeds expectations because again, we're halfway through the year and this is his first year on the job, that kind of thing. So there are things that I have seen and witnessed firsthand that I did say were exceeding. His communication skills are excellent. His stakeholder relationship skills are excellent. His ability to regularly visit the schools and engage with staff members of every level, I think are excellent. I looked at some of the human resources and finance components and went, I got to give him exceeding expectations, and even he will admit he's got a great staff working for him. So sometimes they just make him look good, and we talked about that. So that's great. Working with the district bargaining units, that has been something that's been interesting for the last year, but I will exceed that Mr. Logan wasn't primarily responsible for that when those hiccups that we had from this past summer took place. So I didn't ding him for that. I will say overall, having gotten to know Mr. Logan and walked schools with him and sat in breakout sessions with and talked strategies with, I think he's got a good plan. I think he's got a strategic vision looking forward. One of the things that I think he prides himself on, and he should, is his loyalty to his staff and his administrators. And I think he's doing a fantastic job.
All right, thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
All right, so I'm not going to hit every point and stuff, but Mr. Farr pretty much said pretty much the same things that I had marked down on mine. I put meets expectations on most of it. Like I said, he's been here for 6 months, but I know being the deputy superintendent that he walked into, the superintendent already having a great plan in mind. And so far it seems like he's implementing that plan. Some of the few things that I did put exceeds expectations on was in his communications and stuff like that. The regular visits to schools, I mean, the guy in his district, he walks schools every 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know how much more we want him in the schools. I mean, he's still got the job to do in the office as well. His reports, he's a great communicator and he's very open. And if he doesn't know an answer, he will go after it and he gets back with you in a timely manner and never had any issues with that. I think he's got a great code of ethics. That was exceptional. Everything else, I kind of just have it right now for 6 months. He's just meeting expectations right now. And I think moving forward, he's going to do a great job. Obviously, there's a lot of emphasis on the federal, state, and local laws. I mean, obviously, we're going through all these policies right now. So yes, they are getting all crammed in right now, but that's kind of the way it is with when the new NRSs come out. I mean, we've got to implement them as soon as possible to be compliant. So it is grueling. But this job takes time and effort as well as his. So I mean, if we've got to roll them out and get them all in there to be compliant, I mean, I think he's doing a great job at that. Anything else stand out? I had an exceptional for keeping the board regularly informed with data and the reports. Like I said, and I didn't, excels and works proactively with the board president to plan the meetings. Just knowing all the work that the president does with the superintendent, it seems like they get a lot of work done in a short amount of time, and I think our board meetings are well set up.
Thank you, Ms. McIntyre. Ms. Peterson?
Yeah, kind of took the same approach as these guys. Mr. Logan's new, but he's done a lot of really great things. I just want to highlight two things as far as the board members go. You know, the ethical manner that he runs the district. I gave him exceeded expectations. And then also in board superintendent relations, I feel like he's doing a really good job there. Just coming in and now went from one boss to 7 bosses. And then now it's going to switch over. He's really been having to adjust and work with a lot of individuals. So I'm giving him kudos for that. I also really like this new evaluation tool. I feel like this is way better than the old evaluation tool. And I would encourage everyone when they're filling it out to actually provide evidence why they chose to mark the way they chose so that we can understand maybe what you're thinking when you mark down what you put the superintendent as doing. So thank you, Mr. Logan. Great job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Ms. Valines?
Thank you. I agree. Both Mr. Farr and Mr. McIntyre and Ms. Peterson touched on kind of what I was thinking as well. Being kind of halfway through a year, I agree, meeting expectations. I wanted to kind of highlight and they, again, just like what they did. I would mark you very high for your communication and ethics. You have this open door policy. You're easy to get a hold of. You get right back. You answer questions. Very helpful. An open door, not just for us, but for staff, for parents, and that approachability, I think, is what is a great deal of our success as a district. Policy and board relations, you do such a great job in keeping us updated and answering questions. I just wanted to give you kudos too, to step into such a different role and hit the ground running. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, no, I think my comments probably echo many of the ones that have already been said, so I'm not going to say them again, but I'll just say that, 6 months into the job, I think you're doing great, hitting the ground running. I know when we attend a lot of these NASB conferences and things, it's always talked about that, typically it takes a superintendent, I think, about 3 years to try to make change in their district, and the average superintendent stays on the job for 2 years. So do that math, and it's kind of a problem. But I think we're definitely light years ahead, having an internal candidate that can hit the ground running from day one and really thrive to have some improvement in our district. I think one of the comments, under student learning, I just put in here, and I think we've heard it here many times here tonight, that the student learning would improve and further enhanced by lowering the chronic absenteeism throughout the district. Being the superintendent, it's kind of hard to get all those kids to come to school, but I think if, as a community and as parents, if we really strive to get our kids to school more days in a year, I think it would definitely help a lot of our test scores and data. Communications and communications and ethics definitely exceeds expectations. Human resources and finance, I think both of those areas are hitting it out of the park. I mean, I think it's the best finance department that I've seen in the district for a long time, so it's very good. Policy and board relations, I think everything is pretty solid there. I'm I know a lot of it's been said that we had, pushing all these policies through or something, but I think when we started this, we knew we had about 60 policy changes. And so what was the best way to try to get that done through the board? So we've been trying to just chip away at them so that we make sure we're compliant. So I think we're doing a good job there. Facilities and safety, I think we've done a good job as a board to address a lot of those needs, doing, that single point entry at our high schools. The social emotional learning, I said mental health is a major issue and the resources to go along with that. I really like what Dayton High School's doing, as far as having that, I think it's a poster board there in the main hall where kids can come by and see, if they're needing some kind of help or whatever, if they feel like they're trapped and need some extra help, there's a lot of people that can get them that. So I would encourage that to be in almost every school, just so kids have that opportunity to see some peers that they can really rely on in a time of need. But overall, I thought definitely doing the job, and I look forward in the next few years to seeing major improvements to a lot of these things that we've helped, get new curriculum. I think it's definitely going to help, getting test scores up and getting kids back in the habit of showing up to school and taking it seriously, I think will also help. So overall, good job. Any other comments?
I just want to say thank you. It's nothing better than having your evaluation in public, as you can imagine. But it is also hard to follow someone that's been in their job for 9 years. And yet this has been a great 6 months so far. And I've learned a ton and I appreciate your guys' support. I also appreciate my cabinet and administrators. They truly do make me look good, which is probably a hard thing to do, but they work hard and I appreciate all that they do as well. But thank you for your feedback. I like the form as well, as Bridget, Ms. Peterson made the comment. It is nice and a lot, it allows me to go through those items a lot easier than just kind of vague comments. So I do appreciate that actual feedback on the form as well. So thank you.
All right, with that,
Do you want to do the overall, like?
Yeah, I mean, we could tie that into a motion if we wanted to, or it's up to you.
I just wanted to share the result.
Yeah, go ahead,
with the,
Mr. McIntyre.
so that outcome number one, the student learning instruction, after they add up all the scores, he averaged a 3.11. Outcome number two is communications and ethics, it was also at 3.11. Outcome number three, human resources and finance, was a 3.38. Outcome number four, policy and board relations, is a 3.29. Outcome number five was facilities and safety, was a 3.69. And so his overall average was a 3.29, which falls at the average of 233 to 366, which is a satisfactory evaluation.
Excellent, thank you. All right, Ms. Peterson?
I move to approve the mid-year review of the superintendent.
Second. All right, I got a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Mr. Farr. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. All right, item number 19, discussion and possible action regarding the annual LCSD board self-evaluation. This item is being presented by myself again. Do we want to go through a similar process? Kick it over to you, Mr. Hendricks.
So this was about our board and how we feel about how we're doing. So one of the things I would hope that we would move towards is data-driven goals. I know a lot of our goals are that we're going to do better, and that's great. But having a specific number associated with that goal, and then looking at data to substantiate whatever improvements that we have. I would really hope that that's what we do so that we can, have something concrete to look at, and see that we've achieved the goal or that we haven't. But That would be my hope in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hendricks. Ms. Parsons?
Yeah, I'll just, I don't want to, I guess I could lean on some of the positive ones. Let's see on this review. It just says the board ensures that the audit committee functions in accordance to state regulations. So that was exceeds our expectations. And then each board member will seek to improve communications during board member reports and about committee assignments. And I think we all do that for training opportunities and just things that we've done. So I gave us an excellent on that. And let's see. The board develops annual district goals, and I have to give us an excellent because I think we do, but I'm with Mr. Hendricks. I don't think they're measurable, and so I don't think they're good goals, but we do it. So I had to give us an excellent on it. And it says that we have a procedure in place for reviewing established policies on a regular basis and developing new ones. Well, we plan on doing that, to changing policies as we come on. And let's see. Okay, the budget one, it got all highly effective. So let's see. Yep, I guess that's it for my highly effective ones. It was staff, budget staff.
All right. Are you done, Ms. Parsons?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Farr?
So I'll just kind of go over the summary. I agree with most of the things where it fell on the scores for the summary of all of us. You know, obviously you're trying to gauge the board as a whole and your own standards and behavior at the same time. So that's why I took it. I would say on the only thing I would have a comment on is on the goals on the very last part where it talks about the annual long-term goal number 5, with trustees will spend time in school classrooms to build supportive and community or positive connections with student, staff, and community. I feel personally, I do quite a bit of that. I'm pretty involved with doing school visits and staying involved with talking with community and stuff. I do feel like there are other board members who could step up in that regard. So that's why I kind of raised this the way I did. And that's what I have to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Farr. Mr. McIntyre?
Yeah, so I feel like we have a pretty good board up here. We are a little diverse, so we have different way of thinking about things, but we all have our own way of representing our constituents. So it's kind of hard to evaluate the board as a whole when there's there's good aspects of this and there's also the bad end on the same topic. So it's kind of hard to do it as a whole. At least it was for me. So a lot of mine, I feel like it was an effective board. I'm still trying to get onto mine. Hold on a second. And like Mr. Farr said, there was a couple of areas that, I feel like we're developing or we're inefficient in. And obviously after tonight, we're going to have three new members on this board. So I don't know how relevant it actually would be. Just keep in mind that I feel like we need to come prepared to our meetings and make sure that we're all reading our board packets and ready to go for the meeting so we don't hold them up. I mean, I feel like that sometimes we can get caught up on that as a board where we string things out a little bit longer than they should. communications, I feel like we have really good communications with each other and the superintendent and anything that we need to get information for. I mean, obviously, we got a great district, and if we need information, they're great to reach out to. And I think the board takes advantage of that as much as possible. And then the ethical leadership, you know, I feel like for the most part, we're pretty effective. But like Mr. Farr said, you know, I feel like I've taken part of doing some of the school walkthroughs, and those are some great experiences of getting into the schools. I mean, we could sit up here all day long and talk about the students, but you go into the classrooms every 2 weeks like Mr. Logan does, and you're going to see a lot different atmosphere than you would think. And so those school walkthroughs are very important, and I'd like to see some more board members actually do those as well. Yep, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Ms. Peterson?
Yeah, I'll just keep my remarks short. I do think that we have an effective board up here. We've done a lot of really good things for the district and worked really hard. So good job, board. So I think we're effective. Also, these goals on here, this would be the meeting where if you want to change a short-term or long-term goal for the board. And this is just, it's hard to remember when you're a board member filling this out that we're not talking about the district, we're not talking about superintendent, it's the board members. And so that is a little tricky sometimes when you're trying to fill it out, but I think our board's been effective. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Ms. Florence?
Thank you. I'll keep mine kind of short too. I feel like you guys have touched on a lot of what I was thinking as well, and thank you for your comments. I just wanted to mention too, I agree to a great extent, effective board as well, but I just want to put it out there. I mean, for each of us and also for new board members, just remember to be an effective board. Take advantage of those resources, like asking questions ahead of time not only helps you be more prepared for the meeting, but also allows staff to be prepared too, not just for an effective meeting and keeping things moving along, but then you're getting an educated, complete answer right there, which is helpful to the public as well. So just remember to use those resources. That's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'll keep my comments brief as well, but I do believe that we are effective. I would just say, I think we're best when we make sure that we prioritize kids, make sure that we put kids first. I do like that goal that we added last year as far as spending time in school classrooms. I think that a majority of the trustees have been active visiting schools, but again, I think it's important for every trustee to spend some time in the schools, go into individual classrooms and see the great work that our teachers are doing and administrators and all of our support staff. I think when we do that, a kid all of a sudden doesn't become a test score, that they become an actual human being that's actually getting taught by some really great educators in our district. Kids have been through a lot the last few years, and I think that they're recovering and doing well. And I think there's definitely some great work being done. As far as long-term goal number 3, graduating all students be college, career, and life successful, I think we're doing highly effective at that. The graduation rate this past year was much higher than the state. And I just see a lot of our kids that, you know, they may take different tracks other than college, but they're going out there and they're doing careers and they're just doing well, I think. So overall, you know, most of our students are very successful once they leave high school. So with that, I think Bridget had a good point. If anybody has, you guys want to open the document, the 2024 board goals, and see if there's any changes that you guys want to make to those short-term or long-term goals.
I would suggest we wait till the new board members get on here so they can set those goals.
Yeah, so I'm fine with that too. Does anybody want to give a motion here?
Yeah, Mr. President Cooley.
Yes, Ms.
I
Pierce.
move to approve the annual board self-evaluation.
Second. All right, I got a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Mr. Farr. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. All right, discussion and possible action regarding the deletion of LCSD policy IGADA, promoting school to career transition. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Education Services, Jim Giannotti. Mr. Giannotti.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Farr.
I can't speak for the board, but I read through this pretty well, and I think what the memo that Mr. Giannotti put forward is pretty self-explanatory. This is just kind of a redundant policy that we no longer need at this time. And barring any exception from Mr. Giannotti, I would make a move that we go ahead and pass this as requested.
Okay.
1 second.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Farr, second by Mr. McIntyre. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0.
Thanks, thanks,
much.
Mr. Giannotti.
Thanks for that presentation. It was really riveting. Yeah.
Great memo.
That was great. Again. All right, item number 21, discussion of possible action regarding revisions to LCSD policy BBB, board elections as the first reading. This item is being presented by Superintendent Tim Logan.
Just with the latest census that we had, we needed to update our districts and our voting areas. I do want to make sure that you know there was an addition that was added on, was it Thursday? So had you looked at it before Thursday, just want to make sure that you looked at the most recent. The numbers are the only things that changed. So the thing that's in the board packet should be what you're seeing. And Tom or Mr. Hendricks, you're shaking your head. It depends when you printed it, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't see that yet. So I did have some questions on the precincts here.
So the precincts did change from when it was originally posted, and then it was updated, but thank you. The treasurer's office is the one that updated it. But
Okay, 'cause I have a
it's
copy
just
of
literally the
theirs.
numbers. So that is probably what you have.
Yeah. Okay.
So the treasurer's office updated it. If that was the concern, it was corrected in a later version.
I just had a question.
Yes, Mr. McIntyre.
On the reelection, the years, they say 20 and 22, shouldn't they say 24 and?
It was fall. It caught me too at first. It was fall 20, and then the term began January 2022 or
Okay.
20.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. Thank you.
And then I just had a quick comment for Mr. Hendricks. I noticed the same thing about the precincts. So I called ahead of time. They were able to, fix it. And then they had a completed new page. So that's what I was talking about earlier about the effective. Feel free to reach out and bring that up, and then they can have that corrected and disperse that. And then that way things move forward.
So I have a question when you're done. Are you done, Holly? Okay. For anybody that knows, who makes it so that the clerk treasurer is the one that makes the precincts?
Clerk treasurer is in charge of elections and precincts.
Yeah, I was wondering though, her making the map and everything. Now, does she is there a board that works with her, or does she just do it by herself?
I thought it's based off the percentages.
I mean, it's based off population by precinct, so they try to balance it out throughout the.
Yeah, I know they do, but I was talking with them at the state and they said that they were going to redo them. Now, is this redone because of what happened? I think it was Assemblyman, wasn't it? I don't know. Who was it?
Yeah, it was an Assemblyman.
Yeah, so is this redone because of him? Because that's what I was wondering, because I said it doesn't seem, when I was talking to him, that really, Fernley's got these votes, but yet they take it and they just make points to make sure that Fernley's in there. And anyways, he said that they were looking at that. So that's what I'm saying. Is this redone because of the Assemblyman?
No, I mean, those precincts are redrawn after the census, I mean, in 2020. So the next time that they'll redo precincts is in 2030.
Yeah, but since they were redrawn wrong, I was.
They weren't
wondering-
redrawn wrong. They just had a couple of precincts in the wrong assembly district.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
But I mean, that doesn't
That's-
affect us
That was
in this
just a
agenda item.
question that I had, since they said that they were working on it, so. Anyways, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Mr. Hendricks?
So I did notice that when we have an appointment to the board, that person per NRS has to come up in the next scheduled election. And there's nothing in here that makes reference to that. That just recently happened, so I'm wondering if there's any wording we could put in there that would address that.
It's in the NRS is why, and I don't know if that's what Mr. Adden was just going to say too, but
Maybe reference NRS in this policy.
You can certainly reference it. It's, that's done by state statute, and you can certainly.
It's
put that-
referenced in our board vacancy policy, not in our elections policy.
Yeah.
It's just something in there to address that.
But it's addressed in our board vacancy policy. This covers elections.
But the elections.
And appointments on
We have a
election.
separate policy under board vacancies that lays out all that process.
Maybe
I think the
reference that other
issue,
policy then.
this is dealing with elections, not appointments. Maybe that's what it is.
But the elections change because of the appointments.
Is it the clerk treasurer then that's, NRS has appointed her to do it all by herself? Make the districts?
The statute puts the clerk treasurer in charge of elections. And I don't know what her process is internally, but that'd be a question for her, not the board, but by state
Okay.
statute, she's given that authority.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. McIntyre.
I make a motion that the board of trustees approve the revisions to LCSD policy BBB board elections as first reading.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Ms. Lyons. Any further discussion?
sorry, I just want to reference, it's the policy you guys are talking about. It's BBE vacancies on the board. And so I would agree that if you're talking about elections, you're going to go to elections. If you're talking about a vacancy that came up, you're going to go to policy BBE vacancies of the board. And it references the NRS there of 386-240. And so I don't know if we need to blend the two because one's a vacancy and one's elections. So that's just the comment of what policy it is.
Just the election changes if there's a vacancy and then an appointment. So there's no reference to any other policy in here. And these dates are going to change if there's an appointment. So that's all I'm saying.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right, passes 5-2. Item number 22, discussion of possible action regarding revisions to LCSD policy JGC, use of aversive interventions and physical and mechanical restraints on students with disabilities is first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Special Services, Rachel Stewart. Ms. Stewart.
You were going to do that. All right. It's okay. Good evening, President, good evening, members of the board. Rachel Stewart, Director of Special Services. I'm bringing LCSD policy JGC before you to align our policy with NRS and ask that you approve the revisions. The policy has not changed. We've just updated the NRS chapter in our board policy to match the current NRS chapter and statute. Any questions?
Looking for motion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Farr.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ian. Sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that the board of trustees approve the revisions to LCSD policy JGC, use of aversive interventions and physical and mechanical restraints on students with disabilities as a first reading.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Farr. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 23, discussion of possible action regarding new LCSD policy GBBY, work stoppage prohibited as a first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Joe Hogan. Ms. Hogan.
Good evening, President Cooey, members of the board. After each legislative session, our staff at POOLPAC, which is our public agency pool and risk management of human resources, provides school district with recommended policy changes based on recent laws that were passed. Updating these policies reflect recommended changes that keeps us in good standings with the insurance pool and mitigates our risk and liability. And that is refers to each policy I'm bringing tonight. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the new Lyon County School District Board Policy GBBY, work stoppage prohibited, as a first reading.
Second.
So are you going for it, Mr. Hendricks, with Mr. Farr to speak to you there? All right, so I got a motion by Ms. Parsons and a second by Mr. Farr. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. All right, item number 24, discussion of possible action regarding new LCSD policy GBBZ, personal appearance as a first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Joe Hogan. Ms. Hogan. Mr. Farr.
Mr. President, I make a motion that the Board of Trustees approve new LCSD Board Policy GBBZ, personal appearance as a first reading.
I'll second.
I think I got a motion by Mr. Farr, second by Ms. Peterson. Any further discussion on this policy? Mr. Hendricks.
So looking at this policy, the first sentence in here, employees are expected to dress and groom professionally and appropriately for their specific job duties, presenting a clean, safe, and neat appearance. It seems vague.
Very vague.
Very vague.
Because in this policy, we're dealing with not only certified, but classified, meaning it could be your maintenance, your custodial, care professionals who might be on the floor a lot. So it just leaves room for each and every category for employees. And there is in the CBA for certified, they have a dress code in there as well, and I could read that to you if you wanted me to. I do have it.
Where do I find that?
That's in the negotiated
It's in
agreement.
the negotiated agreement for certified employees. There's a dress and grooming.
And we made sure, and that's also why we knew that those employees will look to that first and foremost. But we wanted to make sure each classified also has something in the policy.
Okay, well, that's great, because that's what I'm looking for, is something a little more, because it seems, if you go to the last sentence of that paragraph, an employee unsure about whether attire or grooming is appropriate should consult the direct administrators or supervisor manager, and that seems subjective, so.
Right.
So.
Each
Okay.
principal will go through that at the beginning of the year and talk kind of about appropriate dress, like clothing in disrepair, t-shirts, athletic practice sweats, or inappropriate classroom wear. That's in their negotiated agreement. So in general, it must be appropriate for school activities of the day. So that's in their negotiated agreement. It
Yeah.
goes into more wording, but that's just-
Okay, so why didn't we put that in here?
because again, this is just for certified. Classified doesn't have anything in their negotiated agreement about personal appearance. So we just made this general for all.
Okay.
And their collective bargaining agreement is going to control over this policy anyway, correct?
Correct.
I had a
From
motion.
what I saw, probably the next 7 to 8 policies we're going to discuss have been discussed with the collective bargaining agreements as part of the policy. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. Thank you. Item number 25, discussion of possible action regarding revisions to the LCSD policy GBCA leaves as a first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Jo Hogan. Ms. Hogan.
All right, policy GBCA on leaves has been updated to provide more detailed information on the types of leave available, along with clearer guidelines for each. The district recognizes that certain absences are sometimes unavoidable and aims to ensure employees fully understand the types of leave they are eligible for, as outlined in the collective bargaining agreement.
I think there were a lot of great changes to this policy, so I think it spells it out very clearly for employees. So that's great.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Flines.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve revisions to Lyon County School District Board Policy GBCA leaves as a first reading.
Second.
I got a motion by Ms. Flines, second by Mr. McIntyre. Any further discussion? I'd say none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? I pass it 7-0. Thank you. Item number 26, discussion of possible action regarding revisions to the LCSD policy GBCB, Family and Medical Leave Act as a first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Jo Hogan. Ms. Hogan.
Policy GBC.
Yes, Mr. Farr.
Go
I'm just gonna
ahead.
skip ahead, sorry.
Or
I make a motion, the Board of Trustees approve revisions to LCSD Board Policy GBCB, Family and Medical Leave Act as a first reading.
Second.
I got a motion by Mr. Farr and a second by Mr. McIntyre. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. Item number 27, discussion of possible action regarding revisions to the LCSD policy GBCC workers' compensation. As a first reading, this item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Jo Hogan.
Mr. President,
Mr. McIntyre.
I'd make a motion that the Board of Trustees approve revisions to LCSD Board Policy GBCC Workers' Comp as a first reading.
Second.
All right, thank you. I got a motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Farr. Any further discussion on this policy? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. Thank you. Item number 28, discussion of possible action regarding revisions to the LCSD policy GBCD transitional duty as a first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Jo Hogan.
Mr. President.
Mr. McIntyre.
Gotcha. I move that the Board of Trustees approves revisions to LCSD Board Policy GBCD transitional duty as a first reading.
A second.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to give it that one to Mr. Hendricks. So I got a motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Hendricks. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. All right, item number 29, discussion of possible action regarding revisions to the LCSD policy GBCE benefits as a first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Jo Hogan.
Mr. President.
Mr. Farr.
Make a motion, the Board of Trustees approve revisions to LCSD Board Policy GBCE benefits as a first reading.
Second.
I second.
All right, I think I heard Ms. Felines on that one. So I got a motion by Mr. Farr, second by Ms. Felines. Any further discussion on this policy? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Item 30, discussion of possible action regarding new LCSD policy GBCF, work-related travel as a first reading and deletion of policy DG, travel. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Jo Hogan.
Mr. McIntyre has a question on this one.
I have a question.
All right, Ms. Hogan, I guess we'll give you.
You don't have to read it, but I was a little confused on what this 4 hours of unpaid leave is for the school for, I mean, I see that it's for parent teacher conferences, school related activities, but they're still allowed to use other leave.
yes.
Right? I mean, they have to put in for it the 5 days before or whatever, but 4 hours of unpaid leave for parent teacher conferences. I mean, by the time they leave the school, get to the school, do the parent, I mean, 4 hours doesn't seem like a whole lot. So that's just for the unpaid. They can use
any leave they want. And from my experience, when this happens, the administrator really works with them well. hoping they don't have to really use anything. They can come back, leave, go down the road, get their appointment, and then come back to work.
Okay, I was just wondering how often this is actually used.
Not very often. I mean, from what I've seen in my experience, but it does happen with those teachers who are also parents and have multiple kids in school. Then they may need to take a little more time. We're basically just saying you can have that time. It will be unpaid, but they can also take out their time.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Farr.
make a motion the Board of Trustees approve new LCSD policy, board policy, GBCF, work-related travel as a first reading. This deletes policy DG travel.
I'll second it.
All right, I got a motion by Mr. Farr, second by Ms. Pearson. Any further discussion on this policy? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Item number 31, discussion of possible action regarding revisions to the LCSD policy GBCG, leave for parents of children enrolled in schools as a first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Joe Hogan.
Mr. President,
Mr. McIntyre.
I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Trustees approve Lyon County School District Board Policy GBCH, leave for nursing mothers as a first reading.
Oh, wait,
I'll second.
I'm sorry. So, Mr. McIntyre, you're one ahead, I noticed. So on 30, it was work-related travel, but I answered your question really of the policy for 31.
All right, I rescind that motion.
Just say. Rescinds it. Did we
But I
have
have
a
to
second?
rescind that motion
Yeah.
first.
So,
Did
So
I
we're on
do?
30.
I think Mr. Hendricks had a second on that motion.
so let me rephrase
I'll
it.
rescind the second.
Okay, we see a second, we see the motion. All right. You want to go again?
Yeah, so now I'll go ahead and make a motion because we're on 31. That the Board of Trustees approve revisions to Lyon County School District Board Policy GBCG, leave for parents of children enrolled in school as a first reading.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Hendricks. Any further discussion on this policy? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 7-0. Item 32, discussion and possible action regarding new LCSD policy GBCH, leave for nursing mothers as a first reading. This item is being presented by Executive Director of Human Resources, Billy Joe Hogan.
Mr. President,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve new LCSD policy GBCH, leave for nursing mothers as a first reading.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Mr. Hendricks, second by Mr. Farr. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Good job on getting through all those. All right, moving down to item number 33. I'm just looking basically for a motion for all second readings of those policies, or if we want to pull one out separately, we can do that. Mr.
I'd
Hendricks.
like to make a motion that we approve all these policies with the exception of 33B.
33B is what?
Is it boy information technology?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I would like to remove, sorry, excuse me a second here. Oh, no, never mind. I'm reading it. That's a first reading for GBBQ outside employment. So never mind. I just,
Okay, so we have that motion by Mr. Hendricks to approve item 33 with the exception of letter B, policy GBBP, information technology.
Do we need to have all of them mentioned specifically?
No.
Okay,
I'm just looking for a second.
perfect. Second?
Okay, is this the one where it's like mostly for district phones? No? Oh.
Okay, so I have a
this is-
motion by
This is for
Mr.
taking the cell phones? Okay.
Motion by Mr. Hendricks and a second by Ms. Malines. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, that passes 7-0. Moving down to item B, policy GBBP, information technology, Mr. Hendricks.
So I stated that this at the first reading. There was language in the current policy that states that cell phones and other electronic devices that are owned by the district for which employer reimbursed are subject to inspection. I'm okay with that, but the second part is personal cell phones or other electronic devices can only be accessed with the express written consent of the employee. I think that's good. I think that should stay in there, and as it's presented, that would be removed. So that's my comment, and that's, if we can leave that in there, I'm okay with the rest of the policy. But I think people have the right, with their personal cell phones, to give consent before those are taken away from them. So,
I think.
Can you tell us what letter you're on in there so I can go through? There's a lot of pages.
It's
So-
not in there.
It's the first
They didn't
page,
put it in there.
second paragraph. And he's referring to, in that second paragraph, it's
Right here.
crossed off, starting with cell phones. And it ends with employee, and then the sentence after that. But he's referring to not crossing out the personal cell phones or other electronic devices.
And again, I think we're talking about personal cell phone devices that are being reimbursed by the district, correct? We're not talking about.
They're not reimbursed. They're given something like $12 or $10 or something, not reimbursed for use. Like these people they need it. And what I've heard is they'll go, okay, I'll have my cell phone separate. Let the district give me a phone. So what we're going to end up doing is having to buy everybody phones for a district phone because they do not want invasion of privacy.
So if I can just add something, this was all in here before, including because it is, if it's an investigation, by law, we would have the right anyway, right? Because we're trying to protect our young students. So the only time I've ever heard of this, like principals don't go around and be like, give me your phone, I want to see it. I mean, we have too many things to do and we're thinking of our students. But if we get a report that a coach or a volunteer or even a teacher, rarely would happen, but if we get a report from the parent saying, hey, they're texting my child, I'm really concerned at how this text looks. That's going to be part of our investigation. And that's when we would want to say either to clear the employee or to say, yeah, we do have a problem. We need to protect this student.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think if somebody's seen something and it's not right, I think we should take it, but I think we need to get a warrant. I mean, there has to be enough evidence that we're not just going to go around taking people's phones.
and I haven't seen that even as my experience as a principal and as a teacher. I've never had anyone say they just walked up and took my phone.
We've had something like that happen on this board.
Oh,
Yes.
so you're more concerned about the board, this policy with the board?
Well,
Is
it's
that-
not just for the board, but I'm just saying it's happened before with this board. So I know that it happens. And I think we need to put in our policy that there needs to be a warrant. So that a judge, because there are things that need to be investigated. But it has to be enough that it goes through a judge and there has to be enough evidence.
I mean, we've got a law enforcement official here. They can probably answer that question whether we need a warrant or not. It happens on school grounds, right? So.
Well, let's look at it on the flip side. What if somebody on the district was texting bad pictures to one of your granddaughters and they wanted to start an investigation and this person says no? And you're like, this is highly inappropriate. You're using your phone to do things that are bad for students.
Well,
Wouldn't you want the investigation to start immediately?
That's it. You can use her phone to trace it back to him, and then the judge is going to give a warrant. And that's the way it should be.
If somebody's using their phone inappropriately and they're in part of an investigation, in my mind, they're kind of waiving their right because they're doing harmful things to students.
I think we should hear from legal counsel to
You're
see what he
just
feels.
assuming.
Legal.
You're assuming. And I think there has to be evidence.
Currently, the laws as stated by Ms. Hogan, there is not a warrant requirement.
I know there isn't, but I think we need to put it in our district policy.
That would-
Just to
that-
make the people happy now that we've started this.
That would be a board choice. You can't
Yes.
increase the
That's what I
requirements,
think we
but
need to
certainly
do.
that's not the law.
And I mean, who are we making happy with this?
Huh?
Who are we making happy by changing that?
Are you kidding me? You must not have talked to any of the teachers and told them about this.
So if a teacher's doing criminal activity,
No,
then that's what
no,
we're
they're
talking
not.
about. That's what we're talking about.
You're not talking about that. You're just talking about taking it.
Just taking it, so a principal going through the
Because
hall
you
and give
think,
you that phone?
because you think, you know, you have to have evidence. And
I would like
it's
to know how many teachers
And it
contacted you
has to
regarding
be
this policy.
actually against the law. Well, I see that there's already been, never mind.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. President, my suggestion would be somebody make a motion. It either gets seconded or dies, and then you move on.
Okay. Ms. Peterson?
I move to approve board policy GBBP information technology.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Mr. McIntyre. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 5-2. All right, item 34, discussion of possible action on agenda items for future board meetings and or information item requests, including summary by the superintendent. This item is being presented by myself and Superintendent Jim Logan. Mr. Logan.
Ms. Parsons, can you turn off your microphone? You're like static or something.
Still hearing it?
There's still feedback. Do you hear it? It just me.
I do, but well, we're almost there. Our next meeting is January 28th at Cottonwood Elementary. We will have the new board oath of office for the new trustees. We'll do the new board reorganization, election of the board president and clerk, and committee representations at that meeting. We are looking at bringing forth some energy services stuff for HVAC and boiler that should be coming forward. Perimeter fencing has gone out to bid, and so we should have some updates on the bids for the perimeter fencing. Health curriculum, it's out for viewing right now to the public, and so hopefully by January, we're ready to bring forward the new health curriculum. And lastly, we're going to have a whole bunch of policies for second readings and hopefully some for first reading as well.
Standards.
So I'd like to request an agenda item for the next meeting, to change policy LCSD policy BDD, board meetings, procedures, common notice and agenda. I would like to restore public comment during agenda items. I want to do this by returning to using the second alternative as outlined in section 704 of the Nevada Open Meeting Law. Also within policy BDD, board meeting agenda, I would like it stated that board members and the public both have the right to remove any item from the consent agenda for any reason. The removed item will then be discussed and voted on separately following the approval of the consent agenda.
And I'd like to have put on there that all committees will be formed at the board level.
They already are. It's already in policy.
Okay, Mr. Cooey.
It's already in
At
policy.
the board level, did you, when Mr. Logan was having his severance pay decided, was that done at a board level?
Yeah, of course.
No, it was agreed, no, it wasn't formed at the board level.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No.
Whatever.
And Mr. Workman's thing wasn't formed at a board level.
The
when he
committees to
got
go
his
and do that is formed at the board and voted on, and then the committee
Yes,
goes.
it was
and-
voted on.
So it's voted
You
by the
guys
board on
brought
a
it
board level,
forward,
so it's
But
done
it
just the way it's
wasn't,
supposed
the
to be.
committee was not formed at a board level.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
I'm sorry that you don't agree, but that's the truth.
Okay, whatever.
Leaving your own conspiracy theory. All right, any further items for January?
I don't have any items. I just want to wish the best to Mr. McIntyre, Mr. Cooey, and Ms. Valines, and thank you for all your help with serving on this board. And that's when I had questions about policy or procedure, you were there to mentor me, so I appreciate that. I wish you the best.
And I wish you the best in January at Cottonwood.
Yeah.
All right, any further items, Mr. Logan?
No, thank you.
All right, if not, I'll move down to item number 35, public participation. Items not listed on the agenda at this time. The public is invited to address the board on items not listed on the agenda over which the board has jurisdiction. No action may be taken on any subject raised during public comment until the matter has been properly placed on agenda for a properly noticed meeting pursuant to NRS 241 Nevada's open meeting law. If you wish to speak, please step up to the front table, be seated, and state your name. Your comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per person and must fall under subjects within the board's jurisdiction and control. In consideration of others, avoid repetition or designate a spokesperson to speak on behalf of your group. Although this board does not restrict comments based upon viewpoint, comments would be prohibited if the contents are willfully disruptive, slanderous, not personal attacks, or interfere with the rights of other speakers. Comments made during this time are monitored by the board chairperson. Mr. McIntyre.
Yes, Neil McIntyre, Fernley resident. First of all, I want to thank the outgoing board members for their dedication and I know that you don't sit on this board for the money. That's quite obvious. Mr. Logan had mentioned it's a thankless job, and I will say this again because I sat on that board for 14 years. I think it is a thankful job. If you look back at everything that you've done and look at all the progress that we've made for our students, it is thankful as far as I'm concerned. I will say there are difficult discussions that have to be made that make it maybe not thankless, but I loved sitting on the board. So I want to thank each and every one of you, not just the outgoing, but the board that's sitting up there now and will continue to go on for the next 4 years. You know, one other thing that I wanted to say is, you know, I sat on the board for 14 years and on almost every agendized item, I asked myself 2 questions, and I think this board really, the board members that are going to stay here really need to think about this. And the 2 questions I always asked myself before I made a decision was, number 1 is how does this affect the kids? And number 2, is this good for the kids? So think about those 2 questions when you're discussing agendized items, and I think it'll be a little bit more clear in your mind on as to how you might vote. Maybe not, but on most agendized items, that's what I did. So anyways, I just want to thank you. I think you guys have done an outstanding job, and I wish the new board members the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure serving with you on this board, not only as an employee of the district, but then later on as a board member. So thank you for the good times. All right, any further public comment? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned.